Welcome to the Core Women Podcast, where meaningful conversations inspire leadership, connection, and possibility. Hosted by Dr. Summer Watson, this internationally recognized podcast features women who are making an impact in business, community, education, healthcare, and beyond. Through honest stories and practical wisdom, we explore what it means to lead, grow, and thrive in a rapidly changing world. And now, your host, Dr. Summer Watson.
Welcome back to the Core Women Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Nancy Gentle Boudrie, founder of Awaken with Light, mindset and mindfulness expert, leadership trainer, and creator of the Pathway to Inner Peace featuring the 4R method. For more than 35 years, Nancy has helped leaders and organizations achieve success while navigating stress, change, and uncertainty. In this episode, we explore emotional resilience, mindfulness, healing, and what she's learned through both her professional work and her recent personal journey through grief. Welcome, Nancy.
Thanks so much for having me, Summer.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to roll right into this. But before we dive into your professional journey and your personal journey, if you could describe your life to this point in one word, what would that word be and why?
Intentional.
Can you explain more?
Yes. So when I embarked on this career as a coach and corporate speaker over 20 years ago, what I discovered was I was living a life by default, not one that I purposely designed. And not that that was wrong, but I learned a lot in my personal journey at that juncture about living life intentionally. Learning self-awareness, learning how I showed up in the world. What did I like about how I showed up in the world? Did I not like about how I showed up in the world? So creating a life I wanted to live, not one of just being an autopilot. And I've been on that for 20 some odd years, but the start of this year, I could feel a change occurring within me and my evolution. I always say you go through like self-discovery, self-development, self-evolution. It was either intention or presence. And both of those words were word clusters that I decided to make my mantra for 2026. Little did I know that both of those words would serve me quite well in the month of April when I had to experience grief and death. So that's why I picked intention, as being very thoughtful about how I show up, who I am showing up, and is this in alignment with how I want to show up?
Well, I'm going to take you a few steps back because I think it's really important to understand that you were living this life by default.
Right.
Where was that aha or enlightenment moment where you recognized there needed to be, or you wanted more so, a shift to live more intentionally?
So I was running a 7-figure insurance agency with multiple locations. Imagine this woman who is slaying everything that she set out to do. I was a mother. I had 2 children. I was married. I ran a business. I sang in the choir. I'm active in my community. But what I did not have is any type of regulatory system. So I would be up all night doing whatever, baking the cookies, doing the presentation for the leadership committee for this X, Y, and Z, and then go in and work a full day, run to this thing with my kid. Like I said, I was very active in my church. I had no regulatory system. So what happened was I experienced, I guess, what we will call burnout. Burnout is very unique to everyone. It's a very catchphrase, but basically I started having physicality issues. They started diagnosing me with like adrenal fatigue, and they kept saying, "What's your stress levels like?" And I'm like, I'm good. Of course I have stress. Well, that's because I'm the Energizer Bunny on steroids, and I'm happy as a clam doing it. Then I realized my physical body was speaking or screaming, and I wasn't listening. I worked out, let me throw that in there, all this stuff, just burning it at both ends, trying to maintain what I thought I was expected to be. I think there was peppered in there some of what I wanted, but I really allowed society, I don't know, the white picket fence thing to take me over. It's like living a life by default, what you've been set up and trained to do. And this is how they define success. Not that I want to give up, but hey, be very intentional on what it is. Like I joke and say, I gave up the Christmas cards because that didn't mean anything to me. Sending out 150 cards. But if somebody is jazzed by that, I want to tell you about and I have people that are friends. I look forward to their newsletter, but that wasn't me, right? So these are the little things. It was just that aha moment of trying to be everything to everyone, doing everything and slaying it. How about that friend that says, "Oh, Nancy, I think you're doing too much." They know not to say that to me.
Right. To this person, this driver, this doer, this person that loves to do this stuff.
Exactly.
You don't do that because then guess what? We're going to continue to do it and we're going to do it more. So
Exactly.
we're going to prove you wrong.
Yeah, right. It's just, oh, check in, Nance. Got it. Like that's going to have more of an effect on me. I just love how people are, how's your self-care? You hear it, it's buzzwords. Self-care. What does that mean to a high achiever? A person who's in rapid fire and thrives in rapid fire.
Yes. Right, Nancy. So thank you for taking us back. I just really needed to hear that kind of epiphany that maybe it was a gradual thing. So we all experience it differently, but what was it for you to become that more intentional woman living her life with just as much purpose and passion and happiness, right?
Yep.
Now, your career has spanned over business leadership, mindfulness training, energy healing. How have these different disciplines come together to shape your approach to helping others?
Since I mentioned it was a personal journey. And once I realized there was no magic pill to help me, I created a me. There was no me, so I created her. And so what started happening is somebody said, go take a yoga class. Okay, I'll go take a yoga class. Oh, what is this? This is kind of cool. And then it led me down Eastern philosophies, all the things, singing bowls, and go into a meditation where they do the singing bowls, and you're like, whoa, why is my teeth vibrating? You know, and
Yeah.
and then it led me to Reiki, which is another Eastern modality. So I started weaving all this into my personal self-care practice and realized I was on to something. And then studied with 4 very instrumental doctors and fast forward created a trademark methodology I call the Pathway to Inner Peace, featuring the 4R method. And so I take this blend of my understanding of business, like I want to work with people that are in business, that are entrepreneurs, business owners, business leaders. And I take that knowledge and apply it with neuroscience of the brain, mindfulness, the understanding that everything is energy. So I blend this very unique thing that created my trademark methodology.
You you got to it before I did. That was my next question. You're the creator of Pathway to Inner Peace and featuring the 4-hour methods. So you've explained that. You talked about who you want to work with. So I'm going to go on to my next question because I love what you do, what you've really created for yourself, who you've worked with. And I love what you said about the singing bowl. I lived in Okinawa for 3 years. So I was able to experience different modalities of self-development,
Yeah.
and growth,
Yep.
doing acupuncture or doing the
Yes.
hot stone rooms or doing things that
Yes.
I didn't experience in the US before that I was able to do there and more frequently. So when you can do acupuncture for $20 a session, I was like,
Right.
I'm in it every week.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly. Exactly.
Which was amazing, right?
Yes.
And that included a massage. So I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
right? So, and no tipping because that's the culture. And I was like, oh my gosh, can I tip
Oh
you? They're
no.
like, absolutely not. And I was like, come on. So,
Yes.
being able to experience these different mechanisms to self-development, healing, balance, and living that intentional life is so important. So, you have spent decades helping others build resilience and navigate challenges. How has your own recent experience with grief changed your understanding of emotional resilience?
So resilience is not about trying to figure out how to get over whatever it is you're experiencing or manage a stressful, challenging situation. It is about moving through it. My Pathway to Inner Peace taught this, but in April, when my first husband passed away, We were married for 21 years. At this juncture of our lives, I am remarried. We are close friends, and we had co-raised our children at this juncture. I've been divorced for about, 14 some odd years. But he suddenly passed away. And now my two children, they're 26 and 28, and myself have this big void, big loss in our lives. So what I realized as I was living it, all the phases of grief and how it's not linear. There's no clear path. You're going to have some days that you're fine and other days you are not. Yesterday was a big day for us. When I say us, my daughter and I, we interact every morning, and you could tell, I could feel her even before we got on the call. She had to go and set up the EIN and set up the bank account for the death, and all this stuff starts flowing into that account. The probate had come in with, they call it short certificate. These were all finalities. Think about this. This is like making it real. We sold the car. It was just big, big, heavy lifting things. And healing and hurting and can coexist. You can have grief and have moments of joy. Within all that, I went to get something out of the glove compartment. We saw this funny thing. I took a picture and we had a chuckle. It's little bits and pieces of him. And I just want the people to know that you have to find a new relationship, a new norm. It's not going back to what it was. So resistance to this new is only going to create more suffering. And you have to just choose to be present with everything that's going on. Maybe sometimes you can't process the emotion because you're in a board meeting, putting out fires, doing stuff at work, and you got the call that, hey, the car's been sold and is being picked up. And all of a sudden you can feel the emotion. How do you just navigate? And we'll get down the road into that. I want them to know, how do you navigate? Because you can't get up and walk out. You've got to function. So I want people to understand all these emotions and everything can coexist. You just got to find the balance, to staying present through it all.
Yeah. And how to really work with it, like with
Yes,
it, right?
yes,
So
with it.
with it,
Exactly.
because it's not going away. It's there to stay. And somehow it's going to manifest itself.
Right.
Like you said, there are different stages of grief. And
Yes.
Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talked about this years
Yes.
ago.
Great book. Great
Great
book.
book, right? Great woman. This was her focus. And she said there are multiple stages of grief. However, we can revisit those stages. It's not linear. It's a revisit to, it could be anger. It could be sadness. Like you said, you open that glove compartment box, you found
Right.
something that just triggered you both, you and your daughter, and you both started laughing because it was a side of him that maybe only the family knew.
The new owner would open up the glove box and toss it in the
R-
trash, right? It was
Right.
like, yeah, right, because they don't know.
They don't know, but it was meaningful to you both. When you run into those things or experience those things along that path or along that journey, it's cathartic. It's like, whew, I
Exactly.
needed that. I needed that laugh.
Exactly.
So
Mhm.
you often talk about creating a life by design rather than by default, which you touched on. What does that philosophy mean to you today, especially after experiencing such a significant personal loss?
So now it's designing this new life. We've got some big moments. In fact, we just finished one big moment. My son was commissioned as captain and he was supposed to be there. And we went up for Boston and we were all there. And, it was very healing, but it was very sad. And he won't be present for, we hope, major. I mean, whatever, the next one. And then we've got my daughter's getting married next July, 2027. And so we are putting all the parts, like she's in this stage of, we just talked about how much money we each were going to give her toward the wedding. And she was working on her budget. And there's all these things they do now. I mean, it's like, oh Lord, it's like these bridesmaids boxes and this and that. So we're having these moments. Like, in fact, we had to clean out something. It was his bathroom. We've kept his room off limits and gradually putting our toe in the water in there. So I went over and I helped her clean out his medicine cabinet, his underneath and all that stuff and all. And I said, our reward will be the bridesmaids boxes. Let's put those together after we do this. So again, it's all talking about a life by design. You could get hung up and stay in a swirl. Even like yesterday was rubber meets the road. I talked to my daughter several times crying, and she's having to function at work. And I said, did you just stuck your head out and said, it's going to be one of those days, folks. It's going to be one of those days. Out of her office, I said, just tell your people it's one of those days. Just got to not get caught and consumed. It's a life by design. And I'm talking about it, and it sounds like I'm making it very simple. It's not simple, but tell you, my children have gone through the pathway to inner peace. So they know the tools in their toolbox. My son only knows the woman who was evolved, and Emma was 3. So they have the tools in their toolbox, and we're pulling them out. Like yesterday, I was just talking to her. I'm like, just stay with the emotion. She was able to cry, helped her move through today. First text this morning, good morning, it's a new day. Because what I said is we close out the day and we open a new day. It's beginner's mind and mindfulness. It's like, let's look at today with newness of being. And as we closed out last night. And so, this morning, it's a new day, Mom, right? It's a new day. That's where you're living life intentionally. You're living it by design.
And I absolutely appreciate that, because when you model behavior over time, when you model these ways of designing your life with intention, it makes such a difference, because your kids pick up on that and they understand that better. So regardless of what you model, they're going to pick up
Right.
on it, right? So
Right.
they're going to begin a day a certain way. And
Right.
your daughter was using the verbiage that you've
Yes.
used. She was using the skill sets that you've modeled to be able to work with this emotion,
Exactly.
because in one way or another, it will manifest in certain ways. But if you have the toolbox and the skill set to work
Correct.
with the emotion, boom, that's huge.
Exactly. And I think as women, we carry everyone else's needs. So, like, I was even talking to her about that because her brother had a different reaction. And I use this word prickly because I think it's the best descriptive. And it's okay. It's okay. And then we said, I don't know, we're queens of multitasking. And he got a little prickly because he got overwhelmed. And he even used the word, I'm overwhelmed. Okay, so we know to dial back. We don't go over there until we have our agenda. We don't go over there till there's more than one task. You don't go one task and then pepper another task and then nope. Okay, got the memo. Don't take things personally. You're in a stage, a season of life. People are going to respond and react differently. And my daughter, giving her permission to cry. You don't have to have all the answers. Receive the support that instead of always being the supporter. Those are things that I think we could, all listeners, regardless of whether moving through a season of grief or they're just moving through a season of challenges, this is applicable for it all.
Absolutely. Now, we've covered so much, but what role has mindfulness played in helping you stay present through grief, uncertainty, change? And how can others begin incorporating mindfulness into their daily lives?
So mindfulness, I had the luxury of training with Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, the founding father of mindful-based stress reduction, MBSR, which is in the North America here, the leading MBSR or mindful-based training. And then I also went through the University of Chicago's mindful leadership training. And both of them are rooted very much in this one key principle of mindfulness. Mindfulness is being fully present in this moment with an attitude of curiosity and non-judgment. So you're being the observer of what's occurring in the here and now. So the best gift you can give yourself is to try to foster. You're sitting in the movie seats and you're watching your movie play out. When you place distance between you and what's occurring, you become disconnected from the emotional attachment that clouds and makes things very difficult. But it's an art. It's not our natural state of being. It is an art, but it can be cultivated. You just have to train your mind. So mindfulness, that's first and foremost. And it's something you want to either take a course, do some YouTube videos. I have an actual app in the Apple Store, Awaken with Light. I've got all kinds of course study that you can do on your own. I drop in that community once a month to go live. It's like a little 15-minute discussion and then 15 minutes of guided meditation. And all of it's based on mindfulness. So teaching people how to practice it. So I would say the biggest concept they want to try to wrap their head around is living present. We don't spend a lot of time living in the present moment. We're always worried about something in the future, worrying about the past. And if you just start sitting with yourself and try to bring yourself back into present, which is engaging the senses, but there's ways you have to get it anchored into the present moment. And then notice how hypercritical you are. Notice if you're critical on yourself. You're probably also critical on others if you're critical on yourself. You want to notice that judgment piece. And the curiosity piece is you don't have all the answers. And guess what? It's okay not to. And one of our control tactics of our brain is to think we can have control over every factor. You have to greet life with curiosity, like a childlike wonderment. That's where all the joy lies. That's where sky's the limit is. But see, we think if we control, everything will turn out the best. When in actuality, you got to release those reins just a tad and be able to open up to curiosity and non-judgment.
Thank you. As we come to the close of the interview, if someone listening today is facing loss, burnout, caregiving responsibilities, or a major life transition, what is one practice or perspective that could help them move forward with greater peace and self-compassion?
I would say power in the pause. So fostering a practice where they take a moment, and it doesn't have to be long, 5 to 8 minutes is a sweet spot, and they connect, they close their eyes, they connect to the present moment. So they engage the senses, taking the sight out because you've closed your eyes, but you hear the sounds that are surrounding you. You feel your butt in the chair. You feel the clothes on your skin. You may smell something in the air. And so you engage for just a moment your senses. That brings you into the present moment. Then explore how your breath flows in and out of your body. That breath is telling you how you feel in this moment. Just connect to it. I see you, I hear you, and I feel you. Breathe. Take a series of breaths. It can be a box breath. It doesn't have to be an organized type of breath. Don't get caught up in that, but it's connecting to the breath. So you've engaged the senses, you connect to the breath, and then just be. The mind's designed to think. It's not going to stop thinking, and it may be a whirling dervish. I just told you I'm the Energizer Bunny on steroids. My mind's never quiet, but I've learned to observe them like passing clouds. So the thoughts that are rolling through, I see them for what they are and just be. You're giving your body a sacred moment to come into parasympathetic that is much, much needed. And if you start your day like this, you'll set yourself on a trajectory that's better. And if you end your day this way, you'll go into sleep better. So it's that power in taking a pause, being with your present moment, your breath, your thoughts. And then if you can land on it ever so slightly, what am I feeling? That emotion is telling you a lot. It's going to dictate your day. And I go into that in the 4R method. Those emotions are creating your thoughts and creating your perceptions. So to ignore your emotion is ignoring most of the equation. Like yesterday, I was in my stillness practice and my daughter and I are very intertwined, good, bad, or indifferent. It is what it is. I could feel it. And I thought, how you doing? What time are we connecting today? Because I could feel that grief. I could feel the sadness. I really foster that ability to allow myself to be, and your body's the best mind reader. Breathe into that body, encourage it to relax. And you're doing this in 5 to 8 minutes, but there's so much power in the pause. You're coming out of that sympathetic, that fight flight, and you're coming into parasympathetic. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself.
Well, thank you, Nancy, for joining me on the Core Women podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. You can connect with Nancy Gentle Boudrie on LinkedIn and at Awaken with Light Inc. YouTube channel. Check out her Awaken with Light app and learn more about Nancy by going to nancy@awakenwithlight.com.
Thank you for joining us on the Core Women podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who may benefit from it. To learn more about Dr. Summer Watson, visit corewomen.com, where you'll find leadership and organizational development consulting, mentorship solutions, virtual assistant services through Core Business Solutions, the Human Forward Movement, and the Human Room, a space for meaningful conversations about keeping people at the center of leadership, business, and community. Dr. Watson is also available to facilitate and moderate engaging one-on-one interviews, panel discussions, and group conversations that inspire connection, learning, and action. Until next time, lead with purpose, connect with intention, and remember to put people first and on purpose.